Welcome, Jackie, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Girlschool, this new album, and other things related to the metal world in general. So, first of all,
Thank you.
how have you been during the last years with the band, concerts, pandemic, economic prices rises up, the tours are more expensive now than before, etc., etc.
Well, it has been a bit of a ride, hasn't it? All this COVID and things. I guess it did affect us in a way, but it was nice to have a little bit of time off, to be fair. We've been on it constantly for the last few years. I mean, I've been in the band now 24 years and we've never stopped gigging and recording. So, but it's nice to be able to do a new album. And COVID gave us a little bit of time to write in theory, although none of us did. We just kind of got into other things, bit of gardening, bit of this, bit of that, bit of time off really from traveling. But in the main, yeah, we've been pretty busy. We've been gigging, got the new album just come out, of course. So we're promoting that now and a few gigs to promote that with. And it's all mad again.
Okay. So it has been 8 years since you released the previous album, Guilty as a Sin. So what have you been doing since then? When did you begin to work on this new one?
Well, it's funny because it's like 8 years ago. It doesn't feel like that. It's like when you bring out the album, obviously in 2015 at the end, it was like 2016 and 17, we were on tour promoting that album. So then that brings you up to like 2018. We started to discuss then maybe we should do a new album. And then, of course, COVID happened and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, we just kind of thought, well, we might as well wait now and record a new album and release it in the 45th anniversary, which is this year. So we did that. Yeah, we started writing the songs last year, recorded it all in December, and it's only just got released now. So everything takes so much time in the music industry. It's not like you write an album, it's out the week after. It takes a month sometimes, promotion and things like that. So here we are. That it's actually finally out.
Nice. Yes. So how do you come with the idea of calling this new album what a 45? So like,
yeah, I mean,
for me it's a great way to celebrate 40 years as a band by releasing a new
45
music.
years.
They are
45 years we've been. Where did it come from? That's what you want to know, right? Well, 45 years the band's been together. I mean, I'm the new girl and I've been in nearly 25 years. That was then we were in the studio trying to come up with a name for the album, and that's always difficult. It's always difficult to find a name that's original, interesting. And I was just making a cup of coffee for everybody in the band, and I was thinking, oh wow, 45 years. How did that happen? What the fuck? I went, oh, what the 45? And it just came out, what? 45 years already. So it's like, and it just kind of stuck. Everybody laughed, and we thought, yeah, that's the title. What the 45? How has it happened? How have we got to 45 years and we're still doing this? Because when you're young, you when you're 17, 18 to up to 20 or 25, you think 30 is really old. And then you think 40 is really old. And then you get there. And then you think 50 is really old. Then you get there. So I can't believe we're still here after 45 years of never splitting up and just continually gigging and recording. Yeah.
Yes. And 45 is no even band in the world accomplish 45 of existence. That's very difficult for this. Are there other plans for such a big event in the band's career?
Well, we just take each day as it comes. I mean, we don't anticipate. We're not thinking about wait until our 50th. You never know. You don't know what's around the corner, do you? But we are going to be gigging this album. So we're going to be doing some tours. Hopefully, we're going to get to America. There is a couple of gigs already booked out there, festivals that we're playing in America.
Yeah.
I think one's in November and one's in March next year. So one in Texas, I remember that. But so Metal Magic, I think it's not Metal Magic. Oh, I forget. They all blend into under the titles of the festival. But we're playing definitely in America. So we're hoping to build a tour around that.
So, nice. Okay.
Hopefully get out there, yeah.
Okay, nice to hear. So at this point of your career, how does it feel to compose, to record, and release a new album? Did it change this aspect much through the years?
Not really, no. I mean, as musicians, you just write songs, you just like playing, you like recording, you like doing it all. So it's only we just got a bit complacent with the last one. We didn't realize how long it had been since the last one, really. So yeah, it was great fun recording. I generally write the riffs at home. I've got a little home studio. Then me and Kim will get on Zoom and we'll go backwards and forwards with lyrics and put a melodies to it. Then in the studio, it just ties it all together. We've kind of always written like that, really. It's just like getting ideas at home and then finishing them off in the studio so that everybody gets involved. So yeah, there's been a couple of other writers on this as well, which has been fun actually to do this one because it's been slightly different with outside writers as well for a couple of songs.
Okay. So, how is the fans' response to the new album until now, and what are your plans after releasing this new album? Go.
What are the plans? Yeah, just to tour it. Of course, we need to promote it and get the new songs out there. As usual, it's like putting new songs into a set is always difficult because then you've got to drop something from the old set, which is always hard because people want to hear so many of the songs, and we're kind of like, well, which ones do we drop? We can't drop Your Emergencies and Demolition and Come On Let's Go and Hit and Run. So it's like, which songs out the album, out the set now do we drop so we can put new ones in? Even though we're playing for 3 hours a night. So yeah, that's the plan. The next thing is maybe do another video, more gigs, get out there and let people hear the songs. That's the whole plan. Yeah, maybe another album, maybe less than 8 years this time.
Okay, I remember. Well, I saw in the news. Well, we put obviously in Metal website that you will play in Setembro Negro Festival in Brazil this year. But then the schedule changed because you have different kind of plans for the band. So why did you decide to change this? Well, for the 15th anniversary of the Setembro Negro Festival and not play right now because I think a lot of people are waiting to play in Latin America, especially.
Yeah, this is interesting because we had the thing was the managers told us and the record companies we've got a tour in South America, so they had the festival booked, and we've been trying to get hold of this promoter from the festival. He hasn't booked our visas yet. He hasn't done the flights yet. And it's like 2 weeks to go, and he's done nothing, and he won't contact us. So because they couldn't contact him, they had to pull it. We can't get visas in time. We can't get the flights sorted out. Had nothing to do with Girlschool. We did not want to cancel. We were looking forward to coming. But the promoters in Brazil, they're at fault, but they're putting online that we have internal problems, which is just not true. There's no truth in that whatsoever. It's the promoter of the festival. He just hasn't got it together. He's not got in touch with the people, our people. They're just not in contact, and they've not sorted out any of the visas or anything. So we just can't go without visas.
Oh. Okay. That's
makes it impossible.
Okay, that's interesting because many people, according to the announcement of the Setembro Negro Festival, says that you have internal problems and
not true. Absolutely not true. It's totally untrue that there's nothing wrong at all. It's completely the promoter, and we are willing to go out there, but we can't go out there without visas and flights, and they haven't sorted that out. And it's like,
yeah. You're right. You're right. Obviously, the flight tickets and
they go up and up every single day. They go up every
less than a month is rise above a lot. It's very expensive in less than a month. So you need to buy the flight tickets 2 or 3.
Visas take that.
Yes. Well, that's a curious one, interesting news that you told me. So talking about other topics, you have seen a lot of changes in the rock metal scene through the years. So what is your favorite decade for being a musician, and why?
Oh, that has to be the 80s. I mean, it was so diverse in the 80s. There was so much fantastic rock music back then. I mean, you look at all the bands like Queen, and you got your Iron Maidens that knew every British heavy metal scene. Then you've got Motorhead, all these bands. There's so many good bands. Then you even had the pop side, and there's so much going on in the 80s. And I think you got your poodle haircut rockers, your Bon Jovis, just so much going on. And I think most bands, Guns N' Roses, all those bands, what are back still today playing, people still go to see because the music was so good. They're still there today because of the longevity there, because the music was so good. Plenty of them are still around. Iron Maiden's still around. Guns N' Roses still around. Just got so many bands that are still around from that scene. So yeah, the 80s for me, for sure. And then bands like the Cult as well. I love the Cult. Alice Cooper. I mean, he's done every decade, but just so many bands on the 80s, I think.
Okay. Well, Also, how do you see the music industry post-pandemic? When everything was closed and concerts were not possible, we were looking forward to going back to the normal. But are we really back to normality we had before pandemic hit us?
We're getting there. I think we're getting there. I mean, it took a little while when we first came out of the pandemic. It was ages before we had capacity crowds because people were still wary of going out, you know. And I think the first time was about a year after we played with Saxon and Uriah Heep. It was Girlschool and Diamond Head as well. And we had this gig in London at the Apollo. And that's the first time I really saw it back to normal, as you could say, because nobody had masks on, nobody had to wear masks. It was like, yes, we're back to it. People are in the crowds again, mingling and not bothered about hugging and shaking hands. And that was took about a year, I think. But now I think most people have almost forgotten it. I think some of the clubs have suffered. The smaller clubs, I think, suffered. A lot shut down. A lot haven't been able to get back to normal because people aren't booking tickets anymore online for advanced tickets, should I say, because they're frightened that their gig's going to get pulled and they'll lose their booking fees. So most people are kind of turning up on the nights, which is kind of putting some clubs out of business because they're tending to panic when nobody's bought a ticket and cancel the gig, which then makes it worse for the next band because it's just not working in the same way as it used to. But I think we'll get there eventually. I mean, it's just that trust thing, isn't it? They're hoping it's going to happen or hoping the pandemic's not going to come back. But once we've got a couple of years in between it, I think we'll be all right.
Okay. So, well, talking about the technology, it can be really helpful because it allows musicians nowadays to record music at home and promote the music worldwide through different digital platforms. But on the other side, we have access to so much music that it's probably hard for bands to compete with so many bands around the world. No? Also, digital platforms are not producing enough income for musicians, and is making people to focus more on singles and playlists instead of enjoying a complete album. So, how do you see all these aspects?
It's a really hard one, isn't it? Because there's advantages and disadvantages on both sides, obviously. I mean, back in the 80s, you released an album and it was mostly physical. Well, it was all physical back then, wasn't it? So you knew exactly where you were. And there was a little bit of money to be made from it as well, if I'm honest. But right now, you can sell 20,000 downloads and it's like £10. It's like buying a t-shirt at a gig. You're getting like a half of a pence or a dollar, whatever you want to cut a cent out. But it's just so it's difficult because there's a lot of bands competing for the same spot. And you don't necessarily have to be the best band in the world anymore to be successful. You just have to know what you're doing on computers, technology, which kind of is good in some ways, but there's a lot of great bands out there that are just not getting seen or not getting heard because they're not very tech. So I think it's a disadvantage in that way, but an advantage that you can get your songs to millions of people in a second, really, which is fantastic. And lots of bands that can't get out there and gig can now play on and be seen in their songs on live too. So it has its advantages and disadvantages. But I mean, I prefer the old days where you just had physical copy and you knew where you were and you went to see bands because you saw an advert on a wall or a pub or a club, flyer or something, rather than relying on Facebook. Because promoters tend to just go on Facebook and a lot of times you only get 5,000 people on your Facebook page and they're all over the world. So if you're promoting a gig in your local city, you're talking about 1% of your Facebook people are going to be in that vicinity. So it's kind of pointless, and promoters aren't getting that. They're thinking, oh, the bands will advertise it for me. They're doing my job for me. And it's just not working like that anymore. Small promoters are going out because it's not working. Facebook is not working. They're not putting any effort into it. They're just shoving one post on and thinking that's going to do it all. And people ignore it. After a while, they just ignore adverts. People ignore adverts. They scroll adverts. They don't see them anymore. They kind of just gloss past them. So yeah, I think there's a disadvantage in that way. And the old ways were better in that sense with the adverts on the walls and the fly posting and flyers at gigs and magazines and that sort of thing. So I think there's, again, advantages and disadvantages.
No, yes. Well, in addition to the previous question, artificial intelligence is advancing faster than what we expect. So now you can use use it to create cover art for an album, compose music for you, and even recreate someone's voice, which is why now you can find cover songs, but vocalists that pass away, like for example, Race with the Devil, sung by Dio, or something like that.
Mm.
A lot of things happen. So, what is your opinion about this? And do you yourself using artificial intelligence as a musician?
Well, that is very handy because obviously when we did the album Legacy, we had a lot of guest stars on, like you just said, Ronnie James Dio and Tony Iommi, Lemmy, Phil, loads of people on there. And of course, a lot of them live in other countries. So Phil Campbell himself came down and Neil Murray came down to the studio in Wales. But like Dio lived in America, Lemmy was living in America. So we had all these musicians all over the world that were playing on the album. So the technology enabled us to record the song for them, then send them digitally the song, and then they'd add their bit to it and then digitally send it back. So that was a huge advantage with technology and AI. So that has been a real godsend for us, obviously. And again, this time we've had Biff sang on it, and he was in another country when he sang. So it's brilliant that you can work like that for sure. And of course, all the gadgets you have these days to make things sound better. And we tend to be very straight and very simple in Girlschool. We don't use gadgets. We don't use lots of effects. We're very like rock and roll, straight through the amp and rock and roll sound. It's not like loads of effects pedals on there and all that. So we don't really go for a lot of that. But yeah, technology has helped when we've been recording for sure.
Okay. Well, you are pioneers as an all female metal band in times when that was hard to see this kind of aspect. So how did you feel back in time when you began your career, and how do you feel now that we can find a lot of female bands around the world in all genres of metal?
Absolutely, it's brilliant. I can't believe it's taken this long. I mean, when we first started, all of us, I don't even think we even thought, oh, we're female musicians. We were just musicians who happened to be female. Do you know what I mean? It was just like we were in bands playing music because we enjoyed music. And it's only other people who said, oh, you're a female in a band. Yeah, so what? You know, you can't tell it's a female musician on a record. You can tell it's a singer, but if you heard a CD and you didn't see what they look like, you can't tell it's a female drummer or male drummer. So there shouldn't really be any relevance at all to that. But I'm very pleased that there are more females coming through now. There's certainly a lot more than there used to be. It was quite, when I look back now, I think about it, that it really was quite rare, but we just didn't care and we didn't see it like that anyway. We just wanted to play music, just the same as the boys.
Okay, and are you agree with this? Well, for me it's very special to say some people, some advertisers, etc. titles, female heavy metal, female metal, female metal. Are you agree with this concept? Because for me it's like something more, something more personal than not for everybody. You need to be a woman to hear a female metal band. That for me is much important to say, hey, Girlschool is heavy metal band, no female metal band.
Yeah.
So are you
I agree.
This concept is wrong?
I absolutely agree. And it shouldn't say, I mean, why we won't say, here's Motorhead, a male metal band, would it? It would never say, here's Iron Maiden, a male metal band. So I don't see why they still have to do that. I mean, the title Girlschool sort of suggests for girls anyway, in a way. But yeah, I think that should be done away with. It's ridiculous. Sometimes female fronted is kind of nice because some people like to hear female fronted voices, but I just don't see that's relevant at all. I mean, like I said, we're musicians who happen to be female, so it shouldn't matter anymore. But it seems to for some people for some reason.
Yes. And other aspects about, bueno, for you Girlschool just play music in the 80s, just love the music, this kind of stuff. You told me about it. But as you can see now, a lot of bands appear in the world, and just drummer, bass player, guitar, singing, all female into the music. And when I spoke with some of these bands, when I asked you if are you agreed to put a male musician into your band, and well, they told me that no, it's not possible because we don't like it, etc., etc. A lot of things happen because this is the structure of the band, etc. Are you agreed to just do a female metal band or female music? Because and are you agreed to put some male in the future to play with you with the Girlschool?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I mean, obviously, Girlschool started off as the all female band, like the front runners in England. There was a couple of all girl bands in America. I think when Kim and Enid started the band, the only reason they started it as all girls is because the guys didn't want them in the band. You know, so none of the guys wanted the girls in the band, so they started one with all girls. And of course, the girls' school, it just kept up with that all through the years, just being female musicians. But absolutely no qualms about playing with men. I have another band called Cyteria, and again, it's three girls, but a guy drummer. You know, it's no big deal. We'd have a guy bass player. You know, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's just musicians who we get on well with and work well with, and it sounds great. You know, so it's nothing to do with we don't want a man in our band. I mean, obviously, if say like one of us needed a death, you know, if we knew a female, we'd put one in. But if we needed a male, we'd put a male in. It's not really relevant, really, is it? It's just the band. As long as they can play the band's music.
Yes.
I
Well,
think
one
Girls'
thing.
School with a male in would be unusual because that's how we started out for 45 years. So it kind of would be unusual for Girls' School, but yeah. But they have
Yes.
had men on stage. Nick Lashley, a man called Nick Lashley, a guitarist called Nick Lashley from studying for Kelly many years ago. So and Goom played drums for Denise. So we have had men on stage stepping for us. And on the last tour, of course, Joe Stump got up and played with us. We've had guys on with us loads of times, so it's not right. Not in the band, but you know, stepping in and things like that and joining us on stage, yeah.
Okay. Well, so one thing that I always talk about with my friends is that that many times the idea of creating a rock metal band with just girls can be something forced, and talent is not always requirement. So at the end, they can get a lot of attention from the media that ignores other bands that can be considered just for being girls. So how
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you see this aspect? Have you had the chance to listen and watch young all girl bands?
Yeah, many times. Obviously, it's not affecting Girls' School because we've been around a long time, that particular aspect. But yeah, a lot of times we have all girl support bands supporting us. We don't put them on per se, but we like to support them. And every time we do tours, there always seems to be a girl band in different countries on as a support band. And it's brilliant to see, you know, because obviously they've watched us for years and they wanted to do it. And it's great that we've influenced a few people to do this. So we always try to support all the girl bands, definitely. And there
Hmm.
are a lot. There are a lot now, a lot more than there used to be. A lot of rock bands, a lot of punk bands. I was playing a punk festival this weekend with my band Cyteria, and there were loads of all girl bands on there. It was quite interesting to see loads of all girl punk bands from South Korea, from all these countries. It's incredible, really, when you think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we are very close to this interview, Jackie. And for this aspect, what kind of plans do you have to promote? Oh no, to for this new album, promote concerts, Latin tour, perhaps next year, and a full Latin American tour after the last success with the September. Who knows? Who knows? What kind of plans?
Well, I'm really hoping that the South American tour gets put back on. I'm hoping it's not going to be cancelled completely because I don't think they even got around to booking it. It's like it was so badly the promoter we won't be using again, clearly. So we will be using someone else next time. And hopefully we'll be America in November and then America in March. And hopefully South America somewhere in between there. Lots of gigs in Europe. I know we're back in Britain in January. We have a few in Great Britain in January. And there's just festivals all over. We've got we've got gigs in Finland in October, Germany. We've got all sorts, lots of little festivals everywhere. The usual things we're doing. I mean, I think now the album's gone to #1 in the rock charts. I think we'll probably get some more offers in for different festivals around the world as well. So things are looking good. So
Okay,
looking good.
great. And one question before we leave completely this interview. True, and before the complete, well, just the music industry in general. So, I remember that I read 2 or 3 weeks ago that that now are the way of to promote the music is now with the algorithm, paying the algorithm, are other in the digital platforms, in Google, YouTube, etc., and a lot of things. And this article said that the free will or the free will to catch or to pick something that you prefer is no longer available, because now, according to the algorithm recommends everything in cell phone, everything in internet, etc., etc., and say the free will is dead now, and perhaps will be dead in the next 10 years, who knows. So what is your opinion about now the free will is more controlling with this algorithm aspect, and we think that the free will are no longer anymore?
That's scary, isn't it? I saw a particular program you're talking about. I think I saw the one we were talking about 10 years AI taking over. And that is quite worrying, because when you think we have a conversation, we were on tour just recently in the van, we're just chatting about something. We mentioned some aspect, something, and all of a sudden all our phones advertising this product. I'm like, that is scary. It's like everything is listening into you, you can't have a secret conversation. So yeah, I think algorithms are definitely starting to take over. If I mention a band, within minutes, all the adverts will come up for that band. Or if I mention a product, all the adverts will come up for that product. And it is getting that way. I think that AI is starting to take over. Luckily, if you go see live gigs and you go to festivals, you find out bands for yourself. So that is where free will really does come in. Because if you get out to gigs, don't rely on your gadgets. Get out to real live gigs and see some real live people playing real life music. Then you'll make your own mind up about the bands. You don't need to listen to what somebody else is telling you to do. I'm all for free will. Yeah, let's stop being sheeple and let's just do it ourselves.
Okay, well, Jackie, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. Terrific.
Indeed, yeah.
You're a terrific person. Congratulations on this new album. Congratulations on the 45 years of existence of Girlschool. It's a great success for a band, because it's very difficult to achieve 45 years of existence for all bands. So perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalero followers.
Yeah, please bear with us. We will get there just as soon as we find a promoter who will do it properly. We'll be there.